Okay. All right, so I'll get the recording up at some point. All right, so I'm gonna go and pop open the Hypershade. And in the Hypershade, we probably don't really have a whole lot, but because I don't think I included anything with this. But I'm gonna go and start creating some AI Arnold standard surface shaders. And these are gonna go on the individual objects in the scene. So if I take that out, I'm gonna go over to Arnold, and you can type in AI standard, or start typing in AI standard. And so you'll see it kind of pop up AI standard surface. And there we go. So we got this one. All right. I'm going to go ahead and name this one let's call it walls. I'm going to call it walls surface, so I know what it's going to be going on. And so I'm going to go and grab, I'm going to do a face selection. So I'm just going to select the faces for the wall. And then right click, assign material to viewport selection. So that's going to be assigned to that one. And we'll just give it a color so I know it's going to be something by itself. All right. Okay. Is it? Oh, that's not the Lambert. Let me do this. Okay. Actually, change the color of the Lambert. All right, so walls, surface, change that color, red. There we go, okay. It's not gonna end up being red maybe, but at least I know it's on here. Okay, let's make another AI standard surface. I'm gonna rename that one. Let's call it floor surface. And we'll color that one. Maybe like a blue. Right click and assign material to selection. Okay, so we're kind of I'm just assigning things at this point. We'll do the same thing for the floor, or for the ceiling, I mean. Create another AI standard surface. And we leave it white. Make it really white. Okay. I'm gonna make another AI standard surface, and we're gonna call this chair fabric. And I can drag that onto the middle mouse, drag that if you want to, onto the chair. And then we could do, let's say, one for the lamp base. Drop that on there. I'm gonna do another one for the lamp shade. And I think that'll give us enough to kind of start off with. We'll keep adding some more as we need to. Okay, so a couple of light sources in this room. I have two kind of in mind. What would make sense for like one of these light sources to be? Yeah, I mean, it's a lamp. I feel like if you have a lamp in the scene, unless there's a reason for it not to be lit, you know, let's make it lit. So we can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the bulb, and if I go under Arnold, lights, mesh light. I do want the light to be visible because there's going to be a transparency to this lampshade. It's going to turn on the rendering, and then with the light, I can't see it. You guys probably can't even see it. There's like no effect on here. So is it intensity or exposure that I need to work with in order to like ballpark how bright this thing's going to be?
Exposure first.
Exposure first, and then
After you ballpark it, you work on the intensity.
exactly. So we'll go and take exposure, take it up to like 10. Maybe bring that up a little bit. And remember what I said about like when you're at home, the lights kind of tend to be a little bit warmer colored than when you're like in an office, might be a little bit bluer. So I want to kind of roll this into a little bit of a warmer color. So I'm going to go to color temperature, and I'm going to lower that temperature a bit. So we're kind of getting some warmer, orangier tones out of it, yellow to orange. Can you guys see that? Yeah, okay. Now, lampshade. Generally, lampshades are not super opaque. Usually they let some light through. So I'm gonna go and do the same thing for this. So there's gonna be a little bit of a translucency to it. So we'll see, lampshade. Thought I made a lampshade surface shader. Lamp base, lampshade surface. Let's put that on there, make sure it's there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so lampshade surface. Let's go and throw a color on it. Let me do something. Kind of like a warm, kind of like a peachy, not pink. Maybe move it a little bit more into like brown territory. Something like that. Now notice that as light hits it, it's reflecting like brown light, brown color onto the other objects in the scene. So to be aware, like there is that effect where we're having that indirect lighting that's like bouncing color information to other items in the scene. So if you wanted to change this to like green, see how everything gets like tinted green below the lamp? It's because the light's bouncing and it's carrying that color information in there. So if I go bring it back over to brown, have a lighter brown. Let's go maybe something like that. I kind of like that. Okay, I don't need any metalness because I'm thinking this is kind of like a fabric, kind of linen material. I don't really feel like I need a specularity to it. I'm gonna roll down the specularity weight so it doesn't have much of a sheen to it. And then I'll go to transmission. Remember, transmission is the transmission of light through the object. So I can go ahead and turn this on a little bit. And so you'll see that we're actually kind of seeing that light bulb through the lamp itself. That was transmission weight. And then if you want to, you can change the color of that transmission. So it makes sense if it was like, brown color, probably brownish. transmission color. So kind of maybe somewhere around that. Okay. I'm going to play with the depth and the scatter. So I can try to get the light to kind of come through here. This is pretty thin, so like light shouldn't have much of an issue with going through this shader or going through this lampshade. Okay, but I think that'll work. All right. So that's going to give us that lampshade. So let's go and jump over to lamp base. So right now it's the color set to white, but it feels a little kind of peachy, brownish. So let's give it a different color, something that's going to be maybe a little bit more interesting. Maybe something that kind of complements like a brown earth tone, maybe like a green, but maybe not like a strong green. Something like that. And then I kind of feel like if this thing is like maybe like a ceramic material, it's probably going to be a little bit shiny. So, do you guys remember last week what I did to mess around to basically say how shiny I want this object to be? There's a few different things we can do. Any thoughts?
What was the question?
I want to make this a little bit shinier.
Shinier, you can mess with
Well, metal, yeah. If I wanted to be metal.
is it the roughness?
So roughness where?
Diffuse roughness.
Diffuse roughness? I feel like that just made it even less shiny.
What type of shiny are we going to apply?
I'm thinking like it's a kiln fired ceramic lamp.
Okay.
So there's like a glaze on it, but it's not like chrome ball. It's got a bit of a breakup on it. Like what, you know. So remember, what's the word we have for reflectivity? Specularity. So maybe let's check under this section, okay? So right now, weight is going to control how much specularity is on the object. So if I bring it up to 1, that's going to be full specularity. And you see we have a highlight here on the lamp base itself. So there's a shininess to it. There's a reflection. There's a reflective quality to it. In order to make it appear a little more matte, if I pull down that roughness, if I pull up the roughness, sorry, we're going to get that specular breakup or that specular reflection broken up quite a bit. It's going to be rough. It's going to be broken up. So it's not going to give us like a clear reflection, not a clear specular highlight. So let's turn that off. Sorry, let me turn my autosave off, files, projects. There we go. Come on, save. All right. So if I pull down the roughness, that's going to give me some more reflectivity. So I can see objects, I can see things. I can see the lamp. I can see a little bit of the bear right here. I can see a little bit of highlight of the bear. So like these types of things I can kind of work with. Let me throw... I'll get to the bear. Okay, so other parts, other places I can work with the reflectivity on this. If we go to coat and sheen, this gives us like a glazed quality to it. You can see like we get more of that. It literally like if there's a coat to it. Pull down the roughness. You'll see the reflections show up a little bit better. Let me make a standard surface. I'm just going to throw this on. Make sure they're actually showing up in the reflections properly. There we go. They're showing up better now. Okay, so you guys can see the sphere in that reflection now. Okay. So back to this one. So let's say I do want to coat on it. Maybe I don't want it to be super reflective, so I'm going to pull up that weight or the roughness on here so that reflection is a little bit more broken up. And then maybe I want to offset the color of the reflection. So it's not going to be white, where here it's just kind of reflecting the object. It's going to tint it. So I'm going to go a little bit green. And so now that color on the reflection is going to be a little bit tinted green. And I can do the same thing on sheen, build that up a little bit more. Bring that roughness down, and it's gonna just kind of add another layer on top of that, okay? Okay, so we got the lamp. All right, so let's do something for this, this ball right here. What color should it be? Any color.
Blue.
Blue? How blue are we talking?
Baby blue.
Baby blue? About that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so for this one, I kind of want it to be like a little chromy, little metallic-y. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that metalness up. And so it is going to have that kind of bluish tint to it, but it's also going to be have a little bit of a metallic quality. I'm going to throw that reflection into blue also. And then let's do transmission. All right, so I'm going to make this essentially glass. Let's pull that elements down. Okay. And then we'll see, what do we got? All right, what can I do? Okay. I'm gonna pull up subsurfacing, and I'm kind of like combining this. So it's gonna be like a little bit like a frosted glass. I'm gonna pull that scale up, and you'll see this kind of like disappear. Yeah, that's looking kind of weird. I kind of like that. Okay. So kind of a weird crystal ball type thing now. And you know, my bear is also crystal ball material. Okay. Let's drop him on another material. Teddy bear. Let's see, what do we got? We got red wall, green, kind of a blue. What color? Yeah, maybe do like a purple bear. Bring it a little bit more over this way. I'm going to take out the specularity. I need it to be pretty flat. And maybe throw just a hair in. But I'm going to run up that roughness right here. So where we're getting like that little pop here and here. So I'm trying to think like fabric, like it's not going to reflect anything. But he does have a couple of things that probably would be pretty reflective. And those would be his eyes and probably his nose. Okay. So I'm going to select the eyes and the nose. And let's do... standard surface. Bear nose eyes. Okay, surface. All right. I'll try it one more time. It's not applying it. Let's do that. We're good? Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, what color do you think the eyes are going to be? Black. Yeah, that makes sense to me. No, not the bear. By the way, if you right-click on any of your shaders, right-click and hold, you can go to graph, and it'll graph out whatever shader you have right down here. So if you have like a bunch of crap kind of hanging out there, you can remap it and clean it out. Okay, let's go to black. And I want a nice, reflective bear nose and bear eyes. And they are going to be plastic, so I'm going to give them a little bit of subsurface quality, so like the light will transmit just through them just a little bit. And then the subsurface color, since this is purple around it, I'm going to give it a purple subsurface color. So it might like reflect some of that color through it. Okay. Any questions so far?
The only one I have is about the light itself.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get it to show up in, I guess, I just had issues.
To show up in the render?
Yeah, to show up in the render, I just had issues.
It's a thing that, so it's literally if you click on the light, come here. Right here it says show in light visible, right here.
Light visible.
Yeah, so if you turn that off, then it's not visible. If you turn it on, then it is visible.
How do you assign,
This is mesh light. Did that answer your question?
yeah, how do you assign it to the bulb itself?
So grab the bulb under Arnold, shaders, no, lights, I'm sorry. Lights, mesh light.
Okay,
So you click and apply that, and it'll attach it to it. Aaliyah, did that answer your question? Yeah. Okay.
How did you select the bear's eyes and nose?
It was a face selection, so I did a face mode,
Yeah.
and then I double clicked on the eyes and then the nose.
Selected the whole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Deselect the light bulb because it may not be like showing. Someone had a question?
I got in kind of late. What did you use to make the room with?
It's a pre-existing mesh you're using for the project.
I'm just specifically finding the walls. Yeah,
Now, having said that, you don't have to use the same colors. You can use whatever colors you guys want. Because I'm not saying I'm a fan of red walls. That might be a little bit much for me, but
reminds me of a Mexican household.
of a Mexican household.
A lot of the walls are very bright. Red, yellow,
You know-
cyan.
I wish that was more common, just amongst everyone.
The color definitely helps
It's-
bring sort of life to it.
Yeah, I saw this. It was a Mexican household that was on sale, and when we were buying a house, and like they had painted the entire interior of the house was probably like 20 different colors, and like it was garish, but it was also really beautiful, in like just an insane way, and like they did this really beautiful like tile pattern on the walls and the kitchen, and like the countertop wasn't even a countertop, it was just laid tile, and it was like sunflowers and sunrises and just this crazy stuff, and like I was like, I kind of just want to like just go visit the house, just because it was just this really beautiful like thing.
It's nice
And
to
you know, it's just you don't see that. I don't see that often, at least. Huh? Okay. So you selected object. Okay. Arnold, lights, mesh light. Okay. So it should apply a light to it, but you have to up that intensity and up that exposure. We're ballparking our brightness with the exposure and tuning it with intensity. So it may be there, you're just not seeing it. Right, but if I'm starting off at an intensity of 0, I'm not getting anything. but I have to ballpark it. You didn't turn your render view on? Well then, yeah, that would also explain things, yeah. All right, I'm gonna do the table real quick. So let's make a material for the table. Okay, drag and drop, put it on the table. Okay, no, I don't need a purple table. Let's do, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna do a brown table, no metalness. We'll do a weight, specularity weight. I don't need it to be 1 because it's not gonna be that. In my head, it's made out of wood. All right, do color for the specularity. I'll leave it at that. I'm gonna pull that. Let's see. Pull that down. Yeah, maybe that'll work. Although, actually, you know what? Maybe I'll do like a marble table. That'll be more interesting. All right, yeah, if I'm gonna do marble, I'm gonna pull the, or maybe like a granite, something light can kind of transmit through just a little bit. Let's pull that specularity up, pull that roughness down a little bit. And then for me, it's gonna be a lot more in the subsurface section, where I'm gonna like have light kind of like transmit through. So we're getting that kind of like, it doesn't look like marble right now, but we're kind of getting like that, almost like it's like cloudy resin. Can you guys see that? Yeah, okay. I'm gonna bring my radius down because like at full throttle, you can actually see the shadows of the objects above them, but like marble's not, I don't know, thin marble might do that, but this feels like it's almost like a glass or something, like it's a frosted glass. I want to pull this radius down. So I just want light to transmit just a little bit through it. And then I'm kind of playing with scale and radius to kind of get it where I want. So maybe something like that. So I'm kind of like hoping for, is I got this little ridge right here. It's so hard to see. On the table, this little section. And I kind of want to get like a nice little shadow in here, but without it flattening out too much. I think that'll work. Okay. just a hair. Okay, so I think that'll give me something. All right, so I got the chair, and then I have the legs for the chair. So let's make a, I think I've already got material on the chair itself, so let's do chair legs. Showing up really dark. I know I don't have a lot of light in here, but let me make sure I can actually see this. I'm gonna grab a little area light and just kind of shine a light down here. So I think I may have the normals flipped on the chair itself, or on the chair legs. Let's see. 5. Yeah, it's coming out black for me. Let me see. We do have. Oh, okay. Let me make sure I got this right. Okay. So grab that on there. Put that on there. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, yeah, they're showing up now. Although they're still reading like really dark for me right here. I'm not sure why. Let me do a mesh display. Reverse. Okay, there we go. All right, I think I may have the normals flipped on these. Do you guys remember normals from Intro to 3D? Yeah. What are normals? Okay. So every face on a model or on a mesh has a positive side and a negative side. So that's what we call face normals. So if I look at, say, this model, it's only rendering one side of that face. The other side of the face would be inside of the mesh, and so we would never really need a reason to render that, okay? So I'm sure you guys play video games. Have you guys ever clipped through a wall in a video game and you're like, oh, I can suddenly see the entire map? It's because you're looking at the negative normal side. It's not being rendered, there's no texture on it, there's nothing. So in Maya, if you have something with a flipped normal, it's going to render as black. So if you go to Mesh Display Reverse, it's going to flip that to the other side. So little tip there. So me flipping these, they were kind of coming out as like really dark, but see now they're showing up as white. So make sure you grab your chair legs and go to Mesh Display Reverse. Okay? So this is another fun thing. This model, or this specifically this chair, I modeled everything else, but this chair came from CG Trader or something like that, some like website. So don't trust everything you get on websites. Sometimes they come in a little weird, and you may have to do a little bit fixing on them.
So the chairs are just automatically reversed, like the normal.
For whatever reason, the normals were reversed on it. I don't know why. It just came in like that, and I doubt that artist like purposely did it, but sometimes it just happens. Anyway, So make sure you guys flip them. Okay. All right, back to the material. So, chair, leg, surface. All right. So I want these to be steel. And, no, not black. Let's go somewhere right about there. So they're gonna have like a nice metally quality to them. I'm gonna pull that specularity up a little bit. And then the roughness, I don't want to be like chrome, but I do want it to have some sort of reflection, but we don't need to be like super reflective. So I'm gonna pull up the roughness here on the specular section to like a 0.2. And that'll give me the metal legs for the chair. Okay, chair fabric. All right, let's do not white. Orange, but I feel like that just fades into the background, so let's do a different color. Actually, maybe like in the greenish. Yeah, I think maybe like a green kind of fabric, and kind of maybe like matching it to the lamp a little bit more. And let's pull that specularity down because it needs to be a fabric, not a plastic. Pull that roughness up. So I'm getting rid of that specular highlight right here. I do still want like some sort of highlight, but I don't need it to be like a pop. I need it to be just kind of like a brush stroke. Whereas like here we see like a really defined light shape, but then pulling that roughness up, we're blending it into the rest of the object. Okay. All right, I don't think I need that light anymore, but I do want to create another light source. So what would make sense for their light to be coming from, coming through, coming out of in this scene? What you got?
Window.
The window. Who doesn't love light through the window, right? Okay. So give me a time of day. Evening? Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the area light and let's go ahead and knock in an exposure. I'm gonna go up to like a 10. I'm gonna pop it out here. Evening's gonna be a little bit warmer. Let's go. Let's see where do I want this to go? Maybe a little bit more pink. That might look kind of nice. Okay. All right, I do have a plane right here. So that's going to be my window glass. Let's up that transmission all the way. Let's see. Add that material. Okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna go and grab, let's see, I think I have these grouped actually. Yeah, the blinds. Okay, I'm gonna grab my blinds. Actually, I'm gonna grab them by the group. And we'll make another one. It's a lot of shaders we're creating today. Blinds, white, plastic. And you don't have to only make like one shader per object. If you make like just like a general like white plastic and you want to reuse that, like that's fine. All right, grab the blinds. All right, let's go pretty bright white. And you'll notice like with the light, we're kind of getting some of that light kind of coming through parts of the shades. And I think I'm gonna adjust the shades a little bit so I can get a little bit more light through if I want. I'm just gonna select them all and I can rotate them. And I can open and close them if I need to. Okay. All right, so specularity, I'm gonna pull that down. They're not usually super specular, but they do have some transmission on them. Not a huge amount, but they are white plastic. And then also subsurface. They're pretty thin, so there should be like a fair amount of light coming through them. And I'm actually gonna get rid of the glass for a second. There we go. Let's take that light. Where are you, light? Area light. Make you bigger. There we go. There we go. So now we got the light coming in. And I really kind of want the light coming in a little bit at an angle. It's maybe a bit much. So kind of like that. I think that'll work. Pull that a little bit further. Okay, I think that'll work too. Let's see, white, plastic, so subsurface, we have the weight kind of turned up. So if the light's transmitting, it's hitting it. And see. Yeah, I think that'll work. That kind of gives us a little bit extra kind of coming in the room. And then if we have like a lamp in here and then we have light coming in through the window, like in theory, this wall or this room would have some extra walls, right? Like we would have, let's see, we would have probably a wall right here, probably a wall right here, which means we would have the light coming in, the photons bouncing off the far wall and then coming in and then adding a little bit of indirect lighting to the back sides of the chairs and the table and just kind of helping illuminate the scene as it is. Right now, we just have the great void of Maya. So what we can also do is add in another area light to kind of help out our scene. And this is going to be kind of like a little bounce light. All right, so I'm gonna set the exposure to 4. Let's go up to 5. Let's go up to 7. So I think 7 is probably a little too high because it feels like there's like a spotlight or something back behind there. So let's bring it back down. Let's do like a 6. I don't want it to be too strong. I want it to be kind of just enough to kind of illuminate some of this area right here. I think that'll work. Give it a little bit of a color, so I'm gonna throw the temperature in. Make it feel a little warmer. Okay. So we're kind of blocking out our materials here. We have some stuff that has some specularity, transmission quality, some stuff has subsurface quality, some stuff is pretty matte. And we have 3 different light sources in the scene. So like that's all working pretty well. You know, what else can we do to kind of help strengthen this? One thing I'm kind of thinking of is we could throw in a weak spotlight that's coming out of the top of the lamp so we can get a little bit more of that light shape up here. Like a little bit of like a circular highlight coming out the top of that lampshade. Let's go jump down to Arnold. And then okay. So I pop that up to an exposure of 10. So you can see how I'm getting that circle right here. That's kind of what I'm looking for, is like I want to get that kind of highlight. There it is, right there. So light's coming out of the top of the lamp, it's spreading out. And then put those samples up to 3 for that light. And then for the cone angle, I'm gonna go and widen that out. So I want that to kind of show up on the wall right here. I'm also going to go ahead and up that penumbra and that drop off. Oh, too much. 0.25. So we're going kind of strong and then pulling back. Trying to work in, you know, our softness in here, some subtlety. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Yes, sir.
I got a bit behind at this part, so whenever you did the table, is the top of the table and the bottom like separate things?
No, it's all one model.
Oh,
You can make them separate materials. Like you have the creative freedom to do that. You do not have to do exactly everything I'm doing in here. But I'm showing you how I would set up the scene and how I would light it. You can do what I do, which is fine. Or you can do something different if you want to do something different. Yes?
I'm gonna have mesh display as like a tab.
Mesh display?
Yeah.
Oh, you're probably not under modeling.
Oh, okay.
So right here, mine says modeling. Make sure you're set modeling. Does it say modeling now?
Yes. Thank
So you have mesh display now?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. All right, this thing. This big old picture frame. I don't have a picture for it, so I guess I'll make it into a... it could be a mirror, or it could be a... Who's the painter that does like the giant blue paintings? Rothko? Roth?
that's like the one color, second color.
Yeah. Is that Rothko? Not Rothko. Is that him?
I don't know, I think there's another painter that's just blue, East Klein or something. No, East Klein is like the blue, I don't know. Something with blue.
I feel like I should know this.
I don't know either, I just painted literally that semester.
Okay, well, anyway. All right, standard surface. Painting frame surface. Okay. I'm going to apply that. All right, and then I'm going to grab this face, and we're going to add a standard surface. Okay, there we go. Separate it out. Okay. If we want to do the frame, well, let's do the painting first. I feel like that would inform what I want the frame to be. Just gonna put a big old green square in here. Big old green square of whatever. Maybe throw a little bit of metal in here. Give it a little bit of a sheen. Up that roughness. And yeah, that'll work. And then the frame, I think I'm just gonna make like a gold frame. I'm going to set the specular color to kind of a goldish yellow. I'm going to go a little bit warmer than that. And then the base color to diffuse. Maybe it was like a little bit of like a lighter yellow. Yes.
Can you do a mirror instead of painting?
Can you do what?
A mirror instead of painting?
A mirror?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I just didn't want to do a big blue painting, so I decided to do a big green screen. So, figured that would be somewhat clever. Not really, but whatever. All right, the wall cannot possibly be that shiny. That is a shiny ass wall. So, I'm gonna pull my specular weight down on this. Pull my roughness up a little bit. I don't know if I like the red, although maybe it's kind of like growing on me. Okay, you know what? I'll do orange for Sam Houston. Actually, you know what? I kind of like that olive green. I think I'm gonna go green. All right, floor. Floor surface right here. I do actually kind of like the blue, but I think it's maybe just a little too. Okay, maybe something like that, and then I feel like at this point it kind of feels like tile, so pull the roughness down a little bit. We'll keep the weight there. Okay. Yeah, I think that'll work. All right, and then I'm gonna keep the wall, the ceiling as like a white. But I'm gonna pull the specularity down entirely. Just a flat white. Okay. All right, so this kind of gives me an idea of like what we're working with. But this isn't necessarily what it's gonna look like in the full render. This is just the viewport render, okay? So what we'll need to do is we'll need to check and see by going, and I'm gonna turn off my renderer, and then I'm gonna go to Arnold, and we're gonna go open Arnold render view. I'm gonna tell it to refresh the render. Now, one thing I definitely wanna do is, you'll see that like what's actually rendering and then what I'm seeing in my viewport are two different things. So you'll see how like I have a lot more space around my render than I actually do in the image that's actually rendering out. So what you wanna do, and I recommend all of you do this, is you'll have this little resolution gate, okay? It's probably turned off by default. Go ahead and turn it on. It'll give you a little green line around here. You can also click the little button next to it, and that'll gray out anything that's outside of the resolution gate. I keep that off because I want to be able to see everything. But what this kind of sort of ends up being is if you're ever trying to frame something, this is a nice little tool to use. It's kind of like when a director like does something like that, where they're trying to frame their shot. The resolution gate is only going to show what is being rendered at this point in time. Now, for me, my scene only extends out to this point. Okay, I'm not prepared to render all of the scenes. I don't have a lot of stuff in here. It's just a corner scene. So think of this as like a film set. It's a facade. So I can arrange my shot within these kind of bounds. I could go in further if I want to. I could go out a little bit, but you're kind of limited a little bit within this area. All right. So this is where you're going to find your angle, and it's up to you. Like what angle you want to use, that's your creative choice. So if you want to get something a little more interesting, maybe pull in a little bit more. But I do want to see plenty of objects. So don't just like go, oh, here's my bear, render. I want to see a variety of objects. But creatively frame it in some way. Okay? All right, so with the Arnold renderer up, you're going to go to Render, Refresh Render. You can also hit F5. And it will render the image, okay? Now, it is basically going to go through every single pixel, render it, it'll go refresh every single pixel, and it'll do this multiple times. You'll see the little percentage button or percentage meter right here setting at 25%. Once it gets up to 100%, it'll be done rendering. All right, so the image is not finished. It's working its way through. So this is kind of where you just like sit and chill. Just let it do its thing. Now, I believe right now it's rendering it at 1920 by 1080. So that is the render resolution you need to be turning this in at. However, what you're at right now is probably 960 by 540. So if you click on the little frame clacker right here with the little gear next to it, this is your render settings. And we're going to go over this while this thing is still rendering. But this is where we're going to set up your resolution. So if you scroll down, you'll see where it says image size. Presets are already set, for me, is set to 1080. For you, it's probably set to HD 540. So that's 960 pixels by 540 pixels. That's pretty low resolution. But this is good to use when you're kind of testing things out and looking, because the less pixels you have to render to, the quicker it's going to render. All right? The more pixels you're going to be using, i.e. 1920 by 1080, however many millions of pixels that is, it's going to take a lot longer to render out that final image. So let's see, this thing's at 58% right now. So if you go to, let's just stop this one. So hit escape to redo it. All right, so I'm re-rendering a 960 by 540. It's already up to 26%. Let's see if it goes any faster than that. But this is, you can, at 960 by 540, you can check yourself, see how everything's looking, if you like the color, if you like the lighting in here. This will give you a more accurate representation of what you're actually seeing versus what's in the viewport, okay? And this is where you're gonna be saving out your image from. Not from the viewport. Don't send me a screenshot of the viewport. I need an image from here, okay? Once you have it rendered, you can go to File, Save Image, and save the image out. What's the format I'm asking you guys for?
MB.
No, image file. TIFF. Yeah, so TIFF image file is what you need to be turning in. Yeah, that rendered a lot faster. So it took me about a minute. So you can kind of see what you got. Obviously, everything looks all right. If you're happy with that, switch it over to HD 1080 and then render out your final image. Now, if you're not, if you're looking at this and you're like, okay, there's some noise in a few of these spots, like maybe some of this, actually it's not that noisy, it looks pretty nice. But there might be some graininess in the image in some of the shadowy areas. We can look at trying to clean that up. Like there's a little bit of graininess from the subsurface quality in here on this, on these blinds. So a couple of options we have is, remember we talked about the lights with the samples? So each one of these lights has a sampling section. So if I jump down into the Arnold section for the spotlight, it's set to 3. Let's see what the area light is set to. Those lights are set to 1, so I'm going to up it to 3. And so by upping the sample number, it's basically upping the amount of photons and the amount of times each pixel is going to be not recalibrated, re-looked at by the rendering engine. So it's going to clean up any sort of distortion or anything like that that's kind of causing some weird noise issues. So I'm going to up this one to 3. And then I'm going to up this one to 3. Now upping the samples on your scene is going to cost you some render time. And if we also look at, go back over to the render settings, and I go under Arnold Renderer, you'll see actually the first section is called sampling. So by default, the camera is set to 3. Diffuse, specular, transmission, subsurface scattering, and volume are all set to 2. You can, if you find that you have noise in areas like, say, your diffuse color. So like this would be, like right here, this is pretty flat. If you feel like you have noise kind of coming in on, like, say, these flat colors, you can up the sampling on your diffuse section. If you have noise coming in on, say, some of these areas that are more reflective, then you can, say, up the sampling on your specular. Transmission, subsurface scattering. Actually, subsurface scattering, we do have a little bit of noise. It's a little bit grainy in some of these spots. So what I want to do is take subsurface scattering and up that to 3. And let's refresh that render. And see if we have any sort of improvement. I'm noticing a couple of objects I actually forgot to put a material on. So these two pieces, I do want those to be metal, so I'm going to reuse the chair leg one. So I'm going to assign that one to those. A little round piece right here. I'm going to assign the gold frame material to that one. And then the trim around the windows, or the window and the floor. Let's do, I'm going to go and apply the ceiling surface 1. Let's give you a little bit of specularity since you're going to be showing up. Okay. I think that's everything. Okay. These look a little bit better. They kind of feel a little more crystally. Okay, let's refresh that render, check it again. There's also a button right here for IPR. That means it's going to update every single time you move your camera or change something in the scene. It's a little bit of a resource hog, kind of in the same way the viewport is when you have that active render turned on. So if you want it on, by all means, go ahead and run it, but it does bog down your computer a little bit. Okay. Okay. Any questions while this is rendering? No? Okay. Well, if we're happy with this, then I'm going to go ahead and hop back over to image size. I'm going to change my preset to HD 1080. Go ahead and refresh the render one more time. Let it render all the way through. And then you will save it out. Go to Save Image. Save it as a TIFF image. And then you'll turn that in. Okay? Okay. All right, so let's double check the instructions. Yeah, it works. So we're going to be looking at this on Thursday at the start of class. So make sure you have it turned in and ready to go.